Recommendations for you. Item number 24 is an application for Florida Growth Grant Funds, and this is for the Innovation Center. Item number 25 is the first three Penny for Pinellas Employment Sites Program applications. They actually had four. We were comfortable with three bringing forward. We're still evaluating the rest, and so these are the first three that we're recommending.
Question?
Yeah, Commissioner.
Thank you. On the projects, I was glancing, and it was not at the summary sheets, and we're paying for construction. I guess I want a better general understanding of what we're paying for, what the timeline is, clawbacks, requirements. Because in my head, I'm looking at comparing it to the QTI, and so I'm just trying to understand what we're paying for and what we get.
In this program, we are going to be doing some construction. Mostly it's site work to prepare the area for the construction of the facilities. And it'll depend on the project. You'll see in each description exactly what the funding is requested for. When we do the presentation, I can make sure that we address that directly.
Okay, thank you.
And one thing, Commissioner, keep in mind, when we submitted the surtax to the voters to approve, we did specifically limit the economic development funds to capital projects. So there aren't going to be things like incentives.
Right, and I know that we're not doing the incentives, but if we're building someone, and that's how we always took it, was more infrastructure type things. Right. But if we're paying for part of the warehouse, then what's
how it's to keep them from selling it tomorrow or whatever.
Well, yeah, right. I call it clawback, but
yeah, right.
So anyway,
and I'll make sure they address that in the presentation. We did look at these, and I sat down with staff and went through these, and we're really trying to do this as an incentive for them to expand in these sites. So, they'll go through each one of them, but in one particular case, for them to locate here versus going out to a greenfield site over and somewhere else, it's challenging because the site's constrained, and so us putting that investments, it kind of incentivizes them to build there and expand their operation. So we're trying to make it to where we're using dollars to continue our people to invest right here in Pinellas County.
And on that point, are we fronting it, or are we waiting until a certificate of occupancy for the project to reimburse them for that piece?
So there's two stages that have to come after this. The first one is we need to verify that the financial request is valid. So we're not going to do anything until we've gone through that process. What we're doing is getting permission from you to move forward, and then we will negotiate based on the project itself and what they're doing. In most cases, it's site work, and so we'll want to be able to help them at the beginning of the project, probably not in advance of the construction, but at least before the CO is issued. But that's something that we can negotiate with them based on feedback that we get from you all as well.
Yeah, I think it'd be important to make sure that there's buy-in from them on the project, so that we're not fronting it and then
absolutely
we're
And we want to do this financial analysis to ensure that the numbers that they're giving us make sense based on industry standards, and that our investment is appropriate for each of the projects.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions for that?
Hey, Mr. Chair, if I could, one other thing I would mention to you all. I know you're seeing these projects for the first time. You've obviously seen some of the affordable housing projects that have come through under Penny 4. Just something I wanted to mention to keep in mind. The interlocal agreement that we have with all the municipalities that establishes the distribution formula also called for a joint committee. They got together in advance of any of these projects being reviewed, and they established guidelines under which the affordable housing projects and the economic development projects would be reviewed over the 10-year period for Penny 4. So just keep that in mind as you look at these, again, the economic development and the affordable housing projects. You all did, at a past meeting, approve those guidelines that were developed by your staff from various municipalities. So just, again, something that I wanted to mention and keep in mind as you take a look at these projects.
Okay. And this first go around, we'll get a pretty good description of what we're allowed to do, and then what these particular projects are asking for, why it makes why it passes the muster, so to speak, but also why we should consider it as far as keeping more expansion here in the area, jobs, et cetera. But we want to make sure it covers both of those.
And you're going to do a presentation, right, at the commission meeting?
Okay.
So we'll go through that, and you can see it's only three projects, but you're talking about new manufacturing up in an area where you don't have the ceiling heights, et cetera, and stuff up in Oldsmar. Very important to modernize our industrial warehouse, or our industrial type space. You've got the project in Pinellas Park that I just touched on. Then the other one's a SCIF. It's a sensitive information where they can go in and dial in and get what they'd have to go on site to a military base to do. We have a lot of industries that need that access, but they don't have anywhere to go to do it. And over on the military base, it's really hard to schedule time to be able to go into their sensitive chambers to be able to do that. So it's a value add. It's a business enhancement for companies that need that type of access. So three projects that really are incentive based to help others grow, and so.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Item 26 is